Where's Creed? Creed?
Here.
Quality assurance. Your job. I really think you screwed the pooch on this one, Creed. Because of you, the entire company is in jeopardy.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and I've got more bad news regarding pop culture and entertainment and the current ongoing global crisis. The movie theater industry has been bogged down as far as growth and profits, for years now in the US and around the world, and this crisis has obviously exacerbated issues, and there's been one worldwide theater chain that's been impacted worse than everybody else, and that would be AMC Theaters, the world's largest theater chain. Now, there's multiple reasons for this, but the big one is because they went into an acquisition mode a couple of years ago, basically because they wanted to be the world's largest theater chain. So they ended up buying a ton of competitors in the North American and European markets to beef up their portfolio and the number of theaters that they had. And it has really blown up in their faces, and it has been for quite a while. This isn't a new development that AMC is in trouble, but this crisis has magnified all these issues by a ton, and we're going to go into that. First, I'm going to read an article from The Wrap. Now, this article is longer than I normally like to read on the channel, but there is so much good information, I'm going to read it all, and I apologize for that up front. It's probably going to take 3 or 4 minutes to get through. Then I'm going to talk about some of the issues specifically that are affecting the chain beyond what they talk about here, just as far as issues that the movie theater industry is contending with worldwide. Then I'm also going to talk a little bit about a competitor, Cinemark, who are having their own issues, but are going to be able to ride out this global crisis much longer than AMC, and why that is, and why they're much healthier despite all the issues plaguing the movie theater industry. Now first, let's read the article from thewrap.com. S&P Global on Thursday downgraded its credit rating for AMC Entertainment to CCC, which takes the company from, quote, highly speculative, unquote, to, quote, default imminent with little prospect for recovery, unquote. AMC has been rocked as a result of the worldwide crisis, which has forced all movie theaters to close and Hollywood studios to either push film releases past the pivotal summer months or take them off the slate for 2020 altogether. Quote, while there is a high degree of uncertainty about the global crisis, some government authorities estimate that the peak will occur between June and August, unquote, S&P analysts wrote in a note on Thursday. Quote, we expect AMC Entertainment Holdings Incorporated theaters will remain closed beyond June due to the impact of the global crisis. We do not believe AMC has sufficient sources of liquidity to cover its expected negative cash flows past midsummer, and we believe the company will likely breach its 6-time net senior secured leverage covenant when tested on September 30th, 2020, absent a waiver from its lenders. AMC is the nation's largest cinema chain, and it's drowning in debt. The company reported a $5 billion plus deficit at the end of 2019 and losses of $149 million for the year after recording a $110 million profit in 2018. During the company's most recent fourth quarter conference call, AMC CEO Adam Aron said that he and other top executives had agreed to cut their salaries and bonuses for 3 years in exchange for stock that would only vest if the share price doubles. Last week, S&P had already knocked AMC's credit outlook to negative from stable. Having a solid credit footing, especially now, is important for companies as a means to raise cash to help float their businesses during the shutdown. AMC also furloughed 600 corporate employees last week, including CEO Adam Aron. Quote, even after significantly lowering its fixed costs and capital spending requirements, we only expect the company's liquidity sources to last through midsummer and are revising our assessment of AMC's liquidity too weak, unquote, analysts wrote. Quote, the company will likely pursue incremental financing through the CARES Act or its lenders, but it is unclear when or if it will be able to secure additional liquidity. While unlikely, we could raise a rating if AMC were able to secure additional liquidity without further burdening its capital structure, and if we expected the company would be able to generate substantial cash flow in 2021, unquote. They continued. Quote, this would likely require conclusive knowledge about the length of the theater closure and a view that the box office would return to normalized levels in 2021, unquote. AMC has spent millions to build up its A-list service, an alternative to the now-defunct MoviePass that has lured 900,000 subscribers since its June 2018 launch, but only turned a profit in the most recent fourth quarter. In recent years, The company has also gone on an acquisition spree, buying Odeon and UCI Cinema Holdings, along with Carmike Cinemas in 2016 and Nordic Cinema Group in 2017. For a while, AMC had a financial parachute from Chinese conglomerate Dalian Wanda, which acquired a majority stake in 2012. But in 2018, Wanda scaled down their position in the theater chain as Chinese regulators incentivized companies to cut back on their foreign holdings. AMC then turned to private equity firm Silver Lake, closing a $600 million investment in September 2018. Not only has the global crisis led to the closure of AMC and its rival theaters, but it threatens to upend studios' theatrical and business models. Studios have delayed production and pushed release dates, and worse, some have decided to squeeze the theatrical window between an in-theater and video-on-demand home releases on titles like Warner Bros.' Birds of Prey and Universal's Trolls World Tour. The writing's been on the wall so long, in fact, that in October, AMC entered the home entertainment business, launching a video-on-demand service that will be available for members of its AMC Stubs customer loyalty program. There are many questions that remain unanswerable, including how long the shutdown will last and how quickly consumers will return to cinemas even if the pandemic subsides. So, yikes, there is a lot of bad news in there, a lot of financial bad news. And I do want to put this out there. On Sunday, I do have a guest joining me, and we're going to talk more in depth about the financial issues of AMC theaters and Disney, who are having their own issues, but certainly not at the degree of AMC theaters. Movie theaters in North America have been struggling for years now, and AMC is certainly feeling those effects. They are no longer competing with each other for their consumer dollars. They're now competing with home theater experiences like Netflix. Disney Plus just entered into the arena. They already have 50 million subscribers worldwide. And it's been difficult for movie theaters to convince people to leave their houses and experience these movies in theater, especially if it's not a big blockbuster movie that has amazing visual effects or that amazing sound effect that you can truly only receive in an amazing in-theater experience. That's why you really don't see a lot of those mid-tier, mid-budget movies being released theatrically anymore. Netflix is really the place to go for all those movies now because they go right into those services, because people don't really have a big reason to go and experience these movies in theater anymore. Now, when I grew up, and a lot of the viewers grew up, movie theaters really just were a service industry. You went to the theater, you got to see your movie, maybe you bought a popcorn and a soda on the way out, or maybe some juju fruits or something like that. But to compete with this new market where people can stay home, enjoy the comforts of their home, enjoy a home-cooked meal, movie theaters have become an experience industry. I remember when I lived in Anchorage, Alaska, going to a movie dinner theater for the first time. I believe it's called the Bear's Tooth. And it was an amazing experience. It's basically an offshoot of a really great pizza place there called the Moose's Tooth. And the food there was terrific, and the ambiance was great, and it was one of the best movie-going experiences I've ever had in my life. Now, it's hard to do things like that at scale, nationwide or worldwide, but you're seeing companies try and do that and emulate that success and that experience that people enjoy when they go to these, dinner theater type experiences. And they've had a lot of trouble with that. Most of the time, the fare you get is that crappy, concession stand food, with a couple of add-ons that are in the neighborhood bar and grill that's attached. One that has been successful, was Alamo Draft House. I believe it's just Draft House nationwide, but that one's really good. The food certainly isn't as good as the Bear's Tooth, but it's better than anything you're going to get at most movie theaters that you can get delivered to you during the in-theater experience. But now some of these national chains are realizing they have to give you the experience like some of these smaller companies. The theaters that they had in existence really weren't built to hold these services. I've seen some when I was in San Antonio, they have, full up bowling alleys now, full bars, a couple of restaurants added onto them. And that's happening nationwide. And that is causing a lot of expense, to create new theaters. And obviously the biggest expense that AMC had was acquiring more theaters just so they could be the world's biggest movie theater chain. Not sure exactly why they did that, but it has certainly come back to bite them really hard. Just listen to these competing numbers from AMC versus Cinemark in their 2019 annual reports. Last year alone, AMC had $340 million in interest expenses on a debt of over $5 billion. And that doesn't even account their lease obligations. In 2019, AMC had annual lease costs of $1.07 billion. against holdings of just $275 million in cash and access to approximately $250 million under 2 credit lines. That is bleak right there, and that is without the crisis. Now let's go look at the numbers for Cinemark, which is generally speaking in the investment world considered the most stable movie theater operation in North America. In their latest 10K report, Cinemark states that it will owe $521 million in interest, lease payments, and other contractual obligations in 2020. Compare that to the almost $4 billion that you have at AMC Theaters, and you can see why they are in very bad shape. Also, Cinemark is sitting on almost $500 million in liquid assets, as well as a $100 billion credit line. So Cinemark has 40% of annual financial obligations while sitting on twice as much cash assets. Just think about that. Now, how long will Cinemark be able to last if this crisis goes on? Well, certainly not indefinitely. But they can make it through the summer and maybe even through the end of 2020, if it lasts that long. But there's no way without major intervention from the US government or other investors with new sources of cash investment in the company can AMC last nearly as long as Cinemark. They stretch themselves so thin with all these acquisitions, and it never really made sense. And they have furloughed 600 corporate employees, including their CEO. Think about how bleak that is. Disney, who is taking an absolute haircut right now, have no sources of revenue. Their CEO isn't furloughed. He is taking a pay cut, just like the rest of the bigwigs at Disney, but they aren't furloughed. They're still in employment. There's a good chance that AMC Theaters and other parts of the movie theater industry aren't going to survive without a great deal of government intervention and bailout due to the ongoing crisis. But everybody needs bailout right now, especially anybody that's brick and mortar, because basically you've been shut down. You're going to be shut down for months. We don't know when this thing's going to come back online. And just think about this. Let's say in 3 weeks, US states, the US government decides that movie theaters are open for business and people can go out. How many people are just going to willingly go into a theater with their family, with other people around them, and watch a movie without being scared, without being nervous about everything that's going on? I cannot for the life of me see any way that people are just going to be ready to go back into movie theaters, ready to go back to sports venues, ready to go back to theme parks, ready to go back to these businesses en masse where there are lots of other people. I think the effects of the worldwide crisis are going to stretch long past the day when people are encouraged to get out of their houses because businesses opened up and we need to get the economy running again. There has been permanent long-term damage. There's been damage to the economy, but there's also been damage to the consumer psyche. And neither of those are going to be fixed overnight. There's a good chance that we don't see AMC theaters come out of this. Certainly not the way they look right now. I will be shocked if they are the world's largest movie theater if they ever open again. Now you might say, well, they can sell off assets, but who would want to buy those assets in this current environment anyway? Anybody that would likely be wanting to give pennies on the dollar for what those facilities and assets are actually worth. The outlook for AMC theaters is very, very bleak. It does not look good. The outlook for the entire movie theater industry is very bleak. But much like comic books and other entertainment ventures that we cover here on the channel, they will come out of it. But we are going to lose some movie theater chains. We are going to lose some movie theater houses. We are likely going to lose some movie studios. There's likely to be some consolidation in the market as things restructure and companies re-enter a market that just doesn't look the same anymore. Like I said, Sunday, I am going to have a guest on to talk about all the financial issues at Disney and AMC theaters. And here's a hint. And a lot of the companies that are struggling right now that might not make it have one thing in common. They went into acquisition mode. They piled on enormous amounts of debt. They burnt through their cash. And now they're sitting there holding empty purses with a lot of bills to pay. If you enjoyed this video, please go into the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. Give the video a thumbs up. If you've been watching the channel but haven't subscribed yet, make it official. Let your friends know that you and Thinking Critical are an item. Subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that, and definitely be coming back for more. Oh yeah, on Saturday, I will be having the Comics Aficionados, but it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a 5,000 subscriber celebration of sorts. We're going to have some giveaways, things like that on the channel, and I hope you join us for that as well. I'll talk to y'all later. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.